James Jaimee, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having us.
So good to have you here. So for those listening, I have James and Jaimee here from Kennedy Jewellers. They're Australia's leading luxury jewellery and watch retailer and also my personal friends. So it's so good to have you here to talk all things business and parenting. First and foremost, James, I want to speak to the business, and I love both of your perspectives, but I want to start with you, James. Sure. What do you think has led to the success of the business and where, you've both taken it? What do you think it is?
Look, the short and sweet answer is sitting next to me. Jaimee's played a pivotal role in the success of the business. For a long time. We've been together 10 years, married for 6. Yeah. And I guess on a personal note, it's been, look, I'm ambitious, I'm hungry, I want to be, I want to achieve success. But I've had luck. Success doesn't come without luck. So I've been the expression that you make your own luck. I think all in all, I've been fortunate in things that have happened to me and worked hard and had a good partner in that.
Yeah, I love that. And Jaimee, what do you think? Like when you look at the journey that you've had to date, what do you think has been pivotal in the success of the business?
I'm going to use a Mean Girls quote. Like he's a pusher. He pushes people.
Love it.
I think you have to have no shame, and you just have to keep on pushing, and people are going to keep pulling you down. And I think that is the difference. I think you just get up and do it one more time, and someone knocks you down, and you just have to get through it. Yeah. And I think that's why you're so successful, because you have the 0 F's attitude. I don't know if I can say that.
No, totally.
Yeah.
There has to be a level of resilience and kind of like tenacity to, I guess, get it to the point that you're at. Do you feel that you both have elements of that in your personalities?
Look, there's an expression that I read recently. The difference between a winner and a loser is that a winner is just a loser that tried one more time.
Yeah, love that.
Right, and I don't think there's any sort of one rhyme or reason as to sort of our fight, I guess, for lack of a better term. I always say the sun's going to rise again tomorrow, and tomorrow's going to be another day, and you've got to just get up and go again. And as Jaimee says, it's not every day smooth sailing, and for all the good, there can be bad as well, and you just have to sort of persevere and get through that.
Failure is not a dirty word. It's okay.
Not at all.
Yeah.
It's okay to fail.
Yeah.
I think it's actually really helpful to fail. I think that's what shapes you into who you are today.
Yeah.
And even having our son now, and seeing him having to go through what wouldn't call them hardships, but as a parent, it's hard to see, the little things that happen at school, but they're what shape him into a resilient young boy that's going to be a man one day. So I think it's all, you have to break to rebuild stronger.
Yes.
So I think it's all been important, but I think definitely for me as well, since I've turned 30, I just care less. It's true what they say, and I think probably for you it was 40.
Yeah, our upbringings have played a part. And I think upbringings play a part, with everybody. And it's actually one of the things sometimes I worry about. With Preston's generation, and I remember the days I was just we had the sport carnival recently, and you either came first, second, or third, and you got your first, second, or third ribbon, and if you didn't come third, that was you didn't get anything. And now it's like there's a participation ribbon and all these types of things. And I don't know. I hope that toughness and that durability, because I think the world isn't fair. No. And I think you do need to go into it with a sense of durability and toughness to be able to to maneuver your way through.
Yeah, 100%.
Over life. That's probably the thing that worries me, or I have a fear a little bit the most these days.
Yes, I agree. And you're seeing it in the new generation coming in, even in the workplace and things like that. I'm going to generalize here, but there does feel like there's a little bit more of an element of entitlement, and it's like, I'm going for a graduate position, but I want to basically be running the place. So, and this is the salary that I want to be having. Whereas I feel like when I was a graduate I was working at management consulting at Ernst & Young at the time. So I was like, I would volunteer here, just give me the opportunity. But there just seems to be a little bit more a different mindset, I think, just generally as the generations come up. I don't know. Do you see that even? You've got a team of people that you work with others within, the industry. Do you notice differences in the generations?
Look, yes, is the short answer. I think from, say, 10 years ago, and look, the world has changed. Perceptions have changed. I think COVID changed a lot in the way we operate as a business. The concept of working from home was not even a concept; it was a day off. And to your point, people have expectations, and if you're it's difficult to find employees that are sometimes prepared to commit. They have more opportunity to find employers these days, so they'll compare you to somebody else, and if that somebody else is prepared to provide, I guess, more of a work-life balance or allow people to work from home or these types of things, I mean, that can prove challenging. For me, the business, we're in the retail industry. My view is one in, all in. So when we have retail staff, our frontline staff, they work 363 days a year. Good Friday and Christmas Day is the only day they have off. Why can't we, as an infrastructure or head office that supports that, not commit to the time to put in to support them?
Yeah. So hear you, Jaimee. I'd love your thoughts. We're quite fortunate if we look at our children are friends. So I look at that generation of like the 4-year-olds, right? And you think to yourself, well, we've afforded them probably opportunities that we probably didn't even have. I speak personally, I didn't have a lot of the opportunities that my sons have today. How do you see, what do you think you will do from a parenting perspective to ensure that your little one, Preston, will remain grounded? Because it is tough, as we're talking about, like these participation awards, there's certain opportunities, all of that. Like, are there things that you feel you put in place to ensure that that he will understand sort of the value of money and to work hard and all the values that you both instill?
I think it's trial and error, but it's also, even for instance, he like reminding him, this is mummy and daddy that have done this. This is not, I don't want him to not feel like it's his home. It is his home. But I think as he gets older, it's that reminding him, you want a car? Great. You're going to have to work for it. We're not going to hand it to you. I think those big milestones in life he's going to have to work for. And we're not going to just sort of, I'm happy to provide him opportunity in terms of classes and education, because we're in such a privileged position that we can do that. But I think extra things like cars and holidays will need to be something that's not expected. I think that's something that we will want to implement. And just even during the year, no toys. I think
that's a hard one.
It's a hard one. But I think just keeping it to Christmas and birthdays and special occasions, and not just this entitlement that money grows on trees and you can have something at the snap of your fingers, because we're even all guilty of it now. We want something, we just go on Amazon and it arrives the next day. Everything's instantaneous. Yeah. And I really want him to work for things. So, it's really just trial and error. We haven't nailed it yet.
No.
Absolutely not.
I think we're all a bit gluttonous, really. Like we live in a world of consumption and we consume everything. And then you sort of, as adults, we live that way, and then our children sort of can see that. Monkey see, monkey do very much with our children. But to Jaimee's point, we have to try and sort of put some rules in place. But it's hard. It's actually for Jaimee and Preston, they're both born in December and they've got Christmas. So it's sort of a bit, at least if your sort of birthday's in the middle of the year, you sort of get this one lot of presents and then you get another lot of presents. Yeah. I guess finding that balance is always difficult. Yeah. So December's like, gimme, happy days. Your favourite month of the year. I'd love to know, obviously running a business, very demanding, very challenging for most people. How did you go with childcare? And I say that because there are a lot of people within our community that, have demanding jobs and roles and things like that. And, we're always looking for wanting to learn from each other. So what do you think's worked well when it comes to childcare, and what does it look like for you both? Well, lucky we had school this year. So that's helped a lot. But honestly, we have just been surviving. We haven't had a second to ourselves. We haven't had any sort of assistance all year. It's just been the two of us, and my sister helps out a lot. But other than school, that's been the only reprieve. But also you have the sick days and you have meetings those days, and you have to just
cancel them and work it out. I feel like it's just been a juggle. Like we're exhausted.
Nannies, nannies have been hard. Hard to find, and good nannies are not easy to come by, and more so because you're trying to trust someone with your child, and we don't have family here in Melbourne. That's too accessible to us. So, as Jaimee said, it's her sister helps out, but otherwise it's just the two of us, and we try to balance between I drop him off every single morning, and between the two of us, one of us will pick him up generally every day after school. Someone has to pick him up, but generally it's one of us. And we try to make the best of the time, that we can afford to either give work or home life. But I've become very much around home's important. I try not to at least, allow work to override time I want to spend with the family.
How do you set boundaries, do you think, in the household?
Sundays are for the family. Running your own business, you really can't avoid the phone call or the email because, as you said, the business is 363 days. So we've had calls at 2 a.m, multiple time zones. But, Sundays we really try to keep for the family and just really be present. I think when you're spending time with your child, what I've found works the best for us is you have to go into their world to play with them. It's not, let's go to Chadston, even though that's tempting. It has to be in their world. That's what they find quality time. That's what our son really responds to. So it's actually building Legos with him or going to the park and letting it all be about him. And I feel like it really sets him up for success for the week, for when we are a little bit more busy and can't give him that time, that he feels like his cup's filled. So I think that Sundays are really important for us.
Do you try to, it's hard, isn't it, when you've got your own business, like dinner time, try not to answer or have phones down or, any other things that you implement in the house, or is it just too hard? You need to be available when you have your own business.
There's no day off. Ideally, we try to avoid it. We'll go into another room. And there's always one of us present. But that's something we'd really love to work on. We've discussed for next year, especially with the new arrival.
We're going to keep trying. We're definitely
to have family dinner and actually have that time together. But it's just so unpredictable because sometimes meetings will go until 7, 8 o'clock. You might have a call with Switzerland, or we just never know. The schedule's just different every day.
But the upshoot of that is then the benefit of owning your own business is I can ultimately set my own hours. So, it can be, yes, it can be difficult because it's effectively 24/7. But at the same time, yes, when I go on a family holiday, yes, I'm always on call and I'm always working, but I can still go on family holiday. I can spend 4 to 6 weeks overseas. I can still we can still sort of do our work, not in an office. So, just as hard as it might be, that quality time that you want to spend with your family.
Pros and cons.
Running your own business, for people who've got a 9 to 5, that can also be hard because you've got to be there and you've got to work, and that's sort of the trade-off as well. So I think it's challenging across the board, to be perfectly honest.
100%. Anyone who's a working parent, like Phil, would be nodding profusely. How do you make time for each other as a couple? Or is it kind of really difficult in these early years of parenting? As you said, Jaimee, you're pregnant again, which is so exciting. But I can only imagine when you bring 2 into the fold.
It's so difficult.
It's so difficult, isn't it?
I think it's unrealistic to expect to have that time together even weekly. So it's whenever we can. So we'll just we're I don't know, we're each other's best friends. We chat all the time. And we work together. But I guess that's not quality time. But then I love seeing you at work. Like it's very handsome to me. So I don't know. Work for me is a break. For me at the moment, doesn't sound healthy, but that's my break. Like I'm like, I have meetings today. Like it's because they're exciting meetings at the moment. But that's sort of our break. But I don't know. We haven't. This year's been hard with not really any help and
not much help at home.
And I think we've been on maybe two, 3
couple dates. But even we used to, when you're, when you have no children, and even before we got married, like you're also younger. Like I think age is a factor here. Right? You don't wake up with the same amount of energy that you maybe did once, and we do.
Not when you're waking up at 5 a.m.
Well, yeah,
Like this morning for Jaimee.
Preston was screaming at 5:30 this morning.
Oh, God.
And then you're trying to reason that it's still night time, and he doesn't want to know. Look, it's probably something we don't do well enough, and that's something that we should do more often. Yes, we spend a great deal of time together, but yeah, that quality time as adults too, I think is important. So again, that's on our list of. I mean, every year you've got New Year's resolutions.
Right.
We've got another list this year, and we'll do our best to tick as many off as we can.
Yeah, it's such a commonality, I think, with all. I mean, I've spoken to so many parents, and that is probably one of the biggest challenges, because really it's kind of like baby children comes first, work, and then kind of the relationship sits down here, right? Because you're kind of like, we're just surviving, particularly in those younger, more formative years where you are having to wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning because they can't look after themselves yet, right? So I always love asking people though, because I mean, I often say, even if it's like Uber Eats on the couch when the little one's sleeping, but even that can be difficult at times when you're so tired.
It's unpredictable. Are they going to get gastro? It's you don't know what lovely new ailment they're bringing home from childcare.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. It's something we haven't worked out, but it's also like you don't want to wish these years away. No. So it's you're in the thick of it, and it's messy and beautiful, but it's worth it.
Yeah.
He's our best friend. Like we love him. We're obsessed with him.
It doesn't detract. I mean, as Jaimee said, we spend so much time together.
Yeah.
I guess at the same time as well, as much as we think it's important, to just go on a date and if nothing else, just to enjoy a nice meal together. Yeah. But I think we sort of, in the way we live our lives, we get that bond anyway, just in the general sort of day-to-day.
Yeah, I hear you. Curious, because obviously you guys are in the spotlight a little bit when it comes to media, etc. How do you think, does that form any further complexities when it comes to, I don't know, privacy around things like your children, or the way in which, you sort of conduct yourselves? It's an extra layer, I think, to the everyday sort of person who doesn't necessarily have the spotlight shone on them. I don't know, are there things since becoming parents that you're more careful about when it comes to, what's portrayed of you, particularly when it comes to children and things like that? How do you find that balance between privacy and public?
I think take the media even out of it. I think I would naturally be as I am now and want to protect Preston just from online. I don't really show him online, like nothing of his face. So I think I would do that naturally anyway.
Yeah.
But I guess there is that element to consider. What do you think? I'm pretty protective in regards to those.
Look, I think being in the I guess having a public profile, for lack of a better term. Sure, you've got to be somewhat more alert, because you will be written about, or things about you, will be said, or, people want to know about you or your life and what you do and how you do it. So I guess there's an element of, wanting to protect Preston for the most part from that. And look, credit to the media in the sense that they do avoid that. So as much as they might want to, write about me or write about Jaimee or write about any individual, sort of to a degree, kids are a little bit off limits, which is a good thing. So we appreciate that, and we sort of have that benefit, I guess, of living in a country like Australia where that sort of, that line's sort of adhered to. But otherwise, I think, to Jaimee's point, we wouldn't really probably do much different. You do everything in your power to protect your children, and that's first and foremost.
It's kind of instinctive to me. I naturally would never even think about posting someone else's child. Like, I'm pretty protective of children in general. Always asking the parent, even there's things that are just not our place. Yeah. If they're having a tantrum, if they need assistance, you don't just go in because you don't know the context of the situation. I adore your children. We're always having lovely chats at swimming lessons. It's just, I think I'm just protective of children in general.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, even down to like before you give someone a lolly or something, you might sort of turn to the parent, is that okay? Like just little things that we do on the daily because you're conscious. Like it's, definitely protective instincts kick in. I'm also curious from a cost of living perspective, right? So we're in a bit of a cost of living crisis, I would say, at the moment. However, I've noticed from articles in the media that generally it's almost like the top end of town aren't necessarily feeling it to the same extent. So, for example, places like St. Haven, the wellness centres have a wait lists which are ridiculous at the moment. Or the real estate market, particularly the more premium end of the market, haven't felt it as much. From your perspective, because you are dealing with, quite expensive products and things like that, what have you noticed in the market? Has cost of living impacted your business?
Look, I think we live in a world, not just in Australia. The polarization of wealth is just so vast now. And there is a sense of, the rich are getting significantly richer and the poor are getting poorer. And this middle class is dissipating a lot through the middle. I always say sort of wealth doesn't just go away. It sort of, it just revolves around and it's quite circular. So, there is an inherent demand for luxury goods and a propensity to spend money. If you just look at the two companies, some of the key retail companies in the world, which are a good gauge, Walmart, Costco sit at the top, and then Richemont and LVMH sit at the top. And they are two, total vast opposites of the consumer that they're speaking to. I think for us, cost of living is very, very broad. On to some degree, it's affecting people's ability to buy groceries and pay their rent or pay their mortgage, and then for others, which you might say are at the higher end of sort of the spectrum, they'll sit there and they're now deciding, okay, I can do one thing, so I'm going to go on a holiday, or I'm going to buy something nice, or I'm going to go to a show, or so they're becoming a bit more selective. So I think that's probably the vast difference. But we actually are very fortunate in Australia. We have, there's an expression, the tyranny of distance, meaning Australia was so far away. But now it's almost the non-tyranny because, the world is becoming a dangerous place. We've got geopolitical issues all over the world at the moment, macroeconomic and inflation. And the cost of living isn't just in Australia, it's global, interest rates, etc. So, for us, we're actually quite resilient for all the challenges and issues that, as a country, that we have compared to other parts of the world and what they're facing. I think we're a pretty robust and resilient type of country in that regard.
Yeah. What would you say, Jaimee?
I mean, retail's softened, but I think we're lucky that we're in hard luxury, and we're selling things that last you a lifetime as well.
Yeah.
So I feel like we're in a lucky industry in terms of their investment pieces. So
and sustainable.
And they're quite they're pieces you hand down for generations. So I think we have been lucky in terms of the products that we are selling. I don't know. People are still buying.
Yeah. We have look, Jaimee makes a really important point. We are in a very specific segment of luxury goods. So hard luxury are things that, it's not like fashion. So there's no seasonality. There's no sizing, there's no obsolescence. The watch or the piece of jewelry you buy today is the same piece you're going to buy in a year from now. And it's a far more sustainable product. There's nowhere near the level of wastage and these types of things. So, to that regard, we're far more, fortunate than others might be in the retail sector, let alone in the premium retail sector.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. To wrap up, guys, I ask all of our guests this final question. So how has parenthood changed you both as people? So, Jaimee, what comes to mind?
Ooh, I feel like this is a good one for you, actually. I feel like you've changed more than me. I feel like actually it's made me more confident. If I'm speaking for myself, it's made me more confident in my boundaries, in myself. I feel more confident, and I don't know. I love it. It's really hard, but I love it. Love being a mum, and I can't believe I'm having another one.
Yes.
Yeah, it's the best.
I'll be a bit more blunt.
But he.
I couldn't believe I could be scared so shitless.
Yeah.
Honestly.
Right.
You automatically have this, like the fear of something happening is so overwhelming, constantly, that you're in this, fear of, gosh, what could it be? What could happen? Like, to think that you could be so scared of something in your life, that is the one thing that threw me when Preston was born. And then having another one as well, that was probably the most profound thing that I found, that you actually become so on edge and scared. Yes. Not that you're thinking like that all the time, but you have this, overarching feeling. That was probably for me the most profound.
Yeah, it's so true. It's so out of your control. It's not like if you work harder or if you, then you can control it. Like it's so out of our control what happens to our children to some extent. So you're right. Like you feel kind of.
I think it softened you.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, because when you're single or then you get married and you're sort of just living your life. It's even how I run my business. I was, much more happy to lean into risk and take more on and. And then you get married and then you have children. All of a sudden, you become a bit more risk averse and you care more about family and, and then nowadays you just every time I'm watching the news or I see something bad happen, I'm just like beyond beside myself because you for a moment think for a second, well, what if that was me or that was Preston or and it's but you have to live with it. And it's funny, I say that to a lot of parents and they say, well, best of luck because it doesn't matter how old they are. That is the exact feeling you get, from the first day they go to school, from the first time they drive their car to the first time they go out with their friends and it just never ends.
Yeah, it hits different, that's for sure. What's next for you guys? What's coming up this year for Kennedy? And what would you like to share with the audience?
Look, we'll be going into,
Opening the new boutique.
Yeah, we've got some new boutiques
Exciting.
opening. So Jaimee's worked with our Greg Natali with our design team, and we're creating a new store in Sydney, which should open in
lots of new brands.
Yeah, lots of new brands.
Can't say yet, but some very exciting ones.
Yeah, June, July we should be opening. Yeah. Lots of projects. Hopefully timing wise. So when the baby's due, we if we're fortunate, we can still go on our summer holiday, which we always
might be pushing it.
But it's it's definitely 2080.
Yeah.
We're going to be able to.
Yeah. No, I love it. I'll drop the handle and the link in the show notes to where to find you guys. Thank you so much again for your time. It was a pleasure chatting.
Thank you.
Thank you.